From your home of the 2016 Rio Summer Olympics, this is NBC Right Now Local News at 6.
1 year ago today, just after 5 o'clock, police shot and killed Antonio Zambrano, a man high on meth, armed with rocks. This video went viral. It's now been viewed more than 2 million times.
Starting a social movement in eastern Washington, already raging across the country. Thousands protested, marching through Pasco, chanting, "It was just a rock."
A local investigation began immediately. The Special Investigations Unit released all of their findings to the public. Then, in September, the county prosecutor decided not to press charges against the officers.
We're still awaiting a coroner's inquest that's now uncertain. Today, there were a number of gatherings, a couple of lawsuits are still in litigation, and some state laws are being re-examined. Tonight, we talk about it all. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Glenn Cassie.
And I'm Tracy Dial, live on location in Pasco 1 year after the Pasco police shooting. And we did have a rally and a vigil behind us. If you notice now, the crowd has gotten much smaller, but that's because most of the people that were here have made their way to City Hall. They're on a march as we speak right now. But earlier today, one of the biggest stories of the day so far is the strong criticism the ACLU had of the Pasco Police Department and its policies. Now, the ACLU did admit that they didn't know everything about what the Pasco Police Department has done over the last year. But Chris Luther, he's going to join me live. You were at that press conference. What exactly did the ACLU have to say about Pasco Police?
Well, Tracy, the ACLU didn't have very many good things to say about the Pasco Police Department. Jennifer Shaw, deputy director with the organization, met here inside Venny's Bakery off to our right this afternoon. She said the Pasco Police Department has a, quote, woefully outdated use of force policy, that the department doesn't have the proper training for de-escalation and mental illness, and that they aren't connecting with their Spanish community. But Shaw also said in that press conference the ACLU doesn't know everything that's going on inside the department because they claim the department isn't cooperating with the review. I met up with Captain Roski from the Pasco Police Department, who strongly disagrees with that claim. He says he met with Shaw last March in person, and in that meeting he told her they would help them with whatever they needed. After that, the Pasco Police Department didn't hear from the ACLU despite some pretty standard record requests. Take a listen to what both sides had to say this afternoon.
Our biggest concern, maybe our biggest concern of all, is the lack of interaction or services available to the Spanish-speaking population of Pasco.
We could walk through and show them the things that we've done, the things that we plan to do, and flat where their report is wrong. And they did not want to do that. They refused the opportunity to sit down with us a couple of weeks ago when they provided us with that report, and we wanted to walk through those changes with them, and they refused to do that.
The ACLU report is about 12 pages long, and it came out in both Spanish and English this afternoon. Now, in response, the city issued its own response, a 3-page letter that also came out in English and Spanish. I guess one thing you can say that's a good sign is that both sides say they're willing to work together to make whatever changes needed to help serve the community. But the question is, what are those changes that are needed, and are they already happening inside the Pasco Police Department?
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Tracy.
And this shooting has had serious ramifications across the state. Some state laws are being re-examined now. There are 4 state bills, 2 in the House and 2 in the Senate, proposed in part because of the shooting here in Pasco. Senate Bill 6295 would require law enforcement agencies to publicly report officer-involved shooting statistics. And Senate Bill 6294 would require the court system to provide a location to host inquests. House Bill 2907 is very controversial. The bill would change state law to make it easier to charge officers involved in deadly shootings. And finally, House Bill 2908 would establish a joint legislative task force on the use of deadly force in community policing. And the Latino Civic Alliance has come forward saying they are standing behind those proposals. Morgan Ashley is continuing our team coverage, and the Latino Civic Alliance, they're proposing more than just these changes in Olympia, right, Morgan?
That's right, Tracy. The Latino Civic Alliance spokesperson Nina Martinez told us today there has been too many unfortunate deaths across the state, including the death of Antonio Zambrano. She also told us as of July 1st, the LCA will be putting a task force committee together for community forums. Now, these forums will include people like you and I, law enforcement on the city and county levels, as well as judges and mental health professionals. Martinez wants this conversation to be organized and productive perspective and says the only way that will happen is when everyone is willing to come together and talk things through.
It's important that that we don't create an environment that immediately is going to be resistant. We think we can do it. I think that there are a lot of law enforcement that want to. I mean, we've already got committed from law enforcement saying we'll participate. So that's a good sign.
3 members from Benton and Franklin counties have already committed to these forums. However, Martinez wouldn't exactly tell us who they are yet. She hopes to have an advisory committee of 20 people, and they'll visit counties across the state, including Benton and Franklin, as well as Yakima and Spokane. And it's also important to note Pasco Police Chief Bob Metzger and some of the police department have made their appearance known. They've gone out into the community over the past year and met with Hispanic leaders and church leaders across Pasco. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Morgan. And 2 lawsuits against the city of Pasco have yet to be decided. One lawsuit filed on behalf of Zambrano's estranged wife, Teresa Ruiz, and their 2 children is scheduled to go to court on January 17th of next year. Another lawsuit was filed on behalf of Agapito Montes and Jesus Zambrano, Antonio's parents. We reached out to their attorney, Charles Herman, but we have not heard back. And on top of those lawsuits, the state and feds are looking into the Zambrano shooting as well. The Washington governor's office asked the attorney general's office to look into Prosecutor Sand's charging decision. In a release back in September, the AG's office said they didn't have original criminal jurisdiction on the matter, but could only investigate if the governor asked them to do so. We spoke with their communications director today, who tells us, quote, there is nothing imminent to announce at this point regarding the Pasco investigation, but we'll keep you posted, end quote. Attorney General Bob Ferguson said he is committed to doing a full and fair review. And Glenn, that does it for our coverage down here in Pasco. We'll send it back to you in the studio.